go to Bay Shore.
I just gotta stop at one place.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Today's Thursday, June 15th, 2023, and we're here for a work session. And as always, we're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. And Frank, can you please take the lead?
Certainly. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we have no announcements today, but I do want to make one point. Work sessions are, we're not allowed as a board to get together, three of us, and make discussions and create legislation and then bring it to the public. That is in violation of the open meeting laws, so we have these work sessions. Everybody doesn't have to agree, but a lot of information comes out and it gives us a direction. So for example, the next topic, it's a matter of discussion. We don't really know what they're going to present. And sometimes it can be something that's really supportive, maybe something that has to go back to the drawing table. This is why it's called a work session and a discussion. So when people are mistaken and think that we create legislation, we should know everything that's going on there and which way it goes. You're wrong. I must tell you, this is to open up lines of communication for the public. And actually, a lot of times it's very, very productive, and other times it doesn't meet the governmental standards, or they have to go back to the drawing board. And so we welcome this, and that's why we're here, and we hold it for the public. So moving on forward, our first discussion item, which is matters surrounding the First Baptist Church Community Life Center, and Reverend Coverdale, Dave Gallo from Georgica Green Ventures, and Dawn Thomas, and our planner, Greg Berman, are here, and I think I'm going to call up Dawn to introduce the topic. Is she here? If not, can we call her? What?
She
It's
was
okay.
hiding.
You were hiding, I couldn't see you.
Spitballs in the back.
Between, Greg, you really totally covered her. So if you guys want to come up to the table, this is a work session, this is a discussion.
Sure. And I think the applicant has a presentation they would like to make, also, so.
Hi, how are you?
Good afternoon.
Dave, good to see you.
You guys, you need some more chairs? Get you more chairs. You're not coming up?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, okay.
Okay, good afternoon. How are you?
Okay, all right, so let's get those recorded. Great. Thank you.
Guys didn't bring any music with you or anything? Quiet?
Not today.
Not today.
Do we have an extra copy, because this has to go
Yep.
online? If we
Thank you.
discuss
I
it?
think it may already be online, but.
David, do we know if this is online?
Yes.
Yeah, because we do have a copy here, good.
Okay, great.
Perfect.
Okay, you want me to start?
Yeah, be great.
Okay, I'll just do a little preview and then I'll hand it over to Mr. Gallo. So, I think in 2016, the board adopted a new zoning code that would allow, and I think it was called Community Benefit Zoning District, and that was in the area of Northville Turnpike, in and around the First Baptist Church. I think it was initiated by members and leadership at the First Baptist Church for the purpose of creating a new housing development. And the board adopted a zoning code, and it was discussed and mushed around for a while. And there's been a few years of gap, and I think a little COVID in there. And now we're sort of back on track and trying to figure out how the project works best for everyone. And we've been working on some zoning changes, and having great discussions about how the project could benefit Riverhead. And I think the collective wisdom was we thought it would be time to bring it to the town board for discussion and consideration, and figure out what the next steps are. That's it.
Great. Okay, thank you, Dawn. Well, thank you all for gathering today, and we're thrilled to actually be here and present this project a little bit more formally, but it is something that we had been working on since 2019. So as Dawn had mentioned, the Coverdales and the not-for-profit had worked previously on this project and the zoning that currently exists, and then later had sought a developer to work with them to bring the project to fruition. My understanding is there was, we were among the few developers that had decided to meet and be interviewed by the church and the not-for-profit, and then ultimately were selected sometime in 2019 to bring the project forward. We did, have these weekly Friday calls, right, sort of up until COVID. Some of them, if I remember, were over a glass of wine and talking with Shirley and the team as we were doing our Zoom calls. But a lot of time and effort has went into designing and thinking about this project, how it could fulfill the community needs. And I feel pretty good about where we are, and having worked a lot in Riverhead and knowing Riverhead, I feel like probably out of all the towns we work in, probably the best. I feel very strongly about the project that we're bringing forward. I think that there's a great vision and a lot of good work that will come out of the completion of this project. I'm going to let the church talk a little bit about themselves, but overall, in order to move the project forward, we would like to see some of the zoning text that was approved back in 2016 modified. Not much, but a couple of things need to be changed in order for the project to move forward. We've worked with Dawn and Anne Marie. We've talked about those items. We've made those changes, and I think it makes for a better project. It creates a lot of new opportunities under the zoning text, including for sale home ownership of up to 5 units in addition to the 80 rental, and a few other modifications that have been made that we'll go through. But I'll turn it over now to Charles.
Dave, one second.
Yes.
Just for the public, can we just
Dave
introduce
Gallo.
the
Yeah, sure. Should we go
the
right?
topic, because
Yeah.
you're talking units and this
Yes,
and that, and
yeah,
so
so-
let's just recap the project, and then everything can fall in. if you
Sure.
don't
So,
mind.
and I probably should have began
It's okay.
with Dave Gallo, president of
Okay.
Georgia Green Ventures, 50 Jericho Quadrangle. So the project is Northville Commons. It
Okay.
consists of 80 rental affordable apartments, 5 for sale affordable condos, and a 10 to 12,000 square foot community center.
Right.
Yes.
Thank you. Hi.
Okay. My name is Reverend Charles A. Coverdale. I'm the pastor of the First Baptist Church, been pastor for 41 years. Our church has been an active part of this community for a long time. But also, I want to introduce the sister pastor, Cynthia Liggett, who's been active with me for many, many years and knows the fullness of the project and worked on it and worked on our church for years as assistant pastor. And therefore is here to, I ask her to help present some of the background. What I wanted to say in general is that in 1982, quickly we came here as pastor, our church began to look at what we could do to add to the Riverhead community. It's my belief that churches do more than just marry people, baptize people, preach the gospel. They help the people in that community to help improve that community. Some years later, as I talked to the church, we developed an outreach of our ministerial program and mission program. We came across some land that we purchased and bought that was attached to our land so that we could do something to really help the community, not just ourselves. It was a learning experience for the church as well as for all those, because churches don't often go beyond their walls and do something that reaches out to the entire community. But we really thought it was important that we did. With the meeting of the church over a couple of years, the church adopted a missional program that we would do things beyond where we are. We took projects over in Africa and built over 80 houses over there on 800 acres of land. We have purchased a brick making machine for things like that. We send books all over the place. We've been in Europe, we've been in India, we've been in all the foreign countries almost, helping people all over, including helping Riverhead. One of the major things we do care through our Open Arms Care Centers, we have 1,500 touches a month for food in this area, and town has certainly helped us in some ways doing that. So our mission, and we see this project as a missional project. Now the history, I'm gonna let Pastor Ligon go through that quickly, because one of the things her family is rooted in Riverhead from her great-grandmother to her grandmother and to her mother, and now her, and she's the assistant pastor of the church. And I think that would be an ideal thing for her to have the opportunity to do.
Good afternoon, I'm Reverend Cynthia Ligon. He's done quite well. I'll just share a few things, which is right here in front of you, that the founding of the church goes back to 1925 in a milk barn. And we're now located on 1018 Northfield Turnpike in Riverhead, and that's our third edifice, and we've been there since 1971. You have met the pastor, and under his leadership, we expanded our property to include a total of 12.5 acres, a little over that. And so part of the mission has been driving change and improvement to the underserved minority communities, and that we have been doing under his leadership for 40 plus years now, and which is a part of our mission statement. If you were ever in our church on Sunday morning, you looked at the back of the bulletin, it would say that we are concerned with individual and community wholeness, addressing present day issues, and collaborations with institutions, and provide services for uplift and outreach, as we now have additional pastors on staff. So Pastor Faye Scott handles our outreach, and we offer worship and counseling services in Suffolk County jails. Pastor Coverdale has been doing that for nearly the entire time that he's here. I had joined him in doing the jail services in 2006, and now Pastor Johnson mainly handles our jail ministry. We have served as a vaccination site. We have Open Arms Food Pantry, and through that we are servicing about 1,500 families a month. Is it a month?
Yes.
Yes, a month. And in 1986, Pastor Coverdale started the Martin Luther King Memorial Breakfast before it was a holiday to honor the memory of Dr. King. I have the pleasure of being the event organizer for that event, and we honor individuals that exemplify the legacy of King and reflects the beloved community. And all of the funds for that have been raised, the proceeds to go towards supporting the Family Community Life Center. Our MLK Breakfast is one of the largest events in Suffolk County. And so from that, we also created the vision of the Family Community Life Center, which we are ready to create, and we have called now Northfield Commons. Let her talk about the Family Community Life Center, if you don't mind, Mrs. Coverdale, as she is the president and the CEO.
Thank you, Pastor Ligon. So as she said, my name is Shirley Coverdale. I'm the president and CEO of the Family Community Life Center, which is a community-based nonprofit that was incorporated, believe it or not, in 1988, with a mission to create a community center and to transform the lives of families in this community by helping to lift underserved families out of poverty, and to create and build a greater sense of community among the residents in Riverhead and neighboring districts. Neighboring districts comes into it because our Riverhead Central School District includes Flanders and Riverside, where many of the church members reside. And so most of their interactions are in the Riverhead area, though they are obviously officially a part of Southampton. So the vision was to create a community center which would address many community services that were documented. Early on, there was a study done to document the needs of the community, and several people were brought in, from educators to public sector service agencies such as DSS, and it became apparent that there was a significant underserved community. The latest census data available say that has not changed. While the area median income in Nassau Suffolk is in excess of 120,000, the 2018 statistics said that the area median income in Riverhead was 57,000. So we have a large underserved population that is in need of housing, is in need of community services. There are a few places where the community can gather to interact in the way that would help build a greater sense of community. And so we have been offering programs and services. We currently do so. We have had to, because of the limitation of the building that we operate out of, concentrate on mostly senior services and youth workforce development initiatives in the summer months in conjunction with the county. So I think you would find that we have a long history of collaborative efforts with both public and private sector. We are working now, have a very strong community strategic partnership with Northwell Health, and since our local hospital has become an affiliate that extends to the local hospital, we are working on a workforce initiative to get people from the community into the healthcare field, because it is a growing sector. As our population ages, it is a sector that pays a living wage and family-sustaining wage, which is a long documented issue, both in Riverhead and in the larger region of Long Island. We have young people and retirees both who cannot afford to live here, who are moving off island. And if we cannot stave off that population, we have something that is completely unsustainable. When this was presented to Long Island Regional Planning Council, they agreed with us wholeheartedly and designated our project as one of regional significance. And so we have been excitedly waiting to implement this initiative, which we know would benefit, it's been well documented, would benefit both the Riverhead community and the catchment area that includes Riverside and Flanders. And so as we built the center, we have concentrated on 5 areas that we're going to address, which we feel are providing family supportive pillars that would help lift people out of poverty, and that is workforce and career development, senior services, youth services, health and wellness, including mental health and wellness, and community education and advocacy. And so that's where the focus is in terms of how those 10,000 to 12,000 square feet of space would be used. And again, to the whole community benefit district of Northville Commons, having housing there, then obviously some of those families will benefit from the services that are in the community center. But those will not be limited to either the church membership or the tenants in the housing. The community center is intended to benefit the entire community, as do our programs right now. We draw a great cross-section of seniors. I don't know if you've ever talked to any of them, but the Memory Cafe and our chair yoga programs, we've had caregiver support groups, and you know, that they've got a life of their own, and the word travels, and we are now serving over 100 seniors a month with those programs, and it helps them to be less isolated and less subject to depression and food insecurity, so that's an overview.
Okay, so, how long has this effort been going on? I remember reading about it 15 years ago, when Hampton, in Hampton's Bay, that local newspaper, so, and I guess it's taken some different lives. So you came on, Dave, in 2019?
In 2019.
Okay, so then you somehow redirected it, that's good. I understand that this property is zoned as church, correct? I don't know if Dawn's there, right? Okay.
We're gonna check,
Yeah, so, Dave, is that what you were talking about, the changing of the zoning? Because I might have to change the church deed and work on some other, is that what you were referring to?
So, I don't know the yes.
it's an overlay.
There is an
An overlay
overlay.
Oh,
that-
okay,
There was an overlay that was created back in 2016.
right,
And
okay.
there's some minor modifications to the overlay in order to see the project move forward.
Okay.
So it's currently, Greg just verified, it's currently RA 40, but it's an overlay, this community
Okay,
benefit
perfect.
district overlays that zoning.
And the other thing that I have here, is there gonna be any commercial establishments there?
Not commercial there'll be areas within the 10,000 square foot facility for space to be leased or rented out by other not-for-profits in the
Oh,
area.
yeah, that's standard, yeah, it's a community center,
But,
yeah.
I've seen firsthand the work that's done there and the mission and what's happening. And the 5 pillars that Shirley mentioned are just going to be expanded.
And I just have one last thing, 'cause I thoroughly read through this, obviously, but I see that you have the 3 bedrooms for sale, just 5 units, and you're gonna have a high demand for that, because there's a high demand for that kind of ownership, especially with the elderly that wants to downgrade, and then you have your young professionals, 2 young professionals, and you know where I'm getting that word from, right?
Yes, I do.
From the course that MIT course we took together as far as development, and there was nothing there for them. So you have a married, two individuals, married, young professionals, they can't afford a house.
Right.
They can't even afford a start, so they're gonna move into a condo or a co-op, build equity, then take that for a starter home. And this is something that this town is missing. I wish you had more of that, because we are missing that, so, good. So any members of the board want to comment on this project?
I just want to say that I was here in 2016 and I supported the program then, and I still support it today for sure. And Mr. Gallo has proven to us the work that he can do in this town. So I think you've partnered up with a great venture, not to use the term venture, but I think you're in good hands here, and I would like to see this, I know you've worked many years raising money for this. I would love to see it come to fruition, and I'm very glad to hear that you've offered some of the units for sale, because that's something that's important to us as a town, not just to have rentals, but for young people to be able to buy something and take pride in ownership. And pride of ownership is really important when it comes to housing and how they're taken care of and such. And I'm just glad to see that you went that route, because I know Dawn has been pushing hard for that, and I think it's a win-win situation all the way around. So I'm glad that you're here today, and I'm glad to hear that you're moving forward. And we will certainly work with you to do whatever we can to make that happen.
So I have a question, Dave. Just recently, the county has done something now for veterans for housing, and you're aware of that?
Yes.
Okay, that's good. I mean, because I think that would be useful. My second question is, I'm just curious. You're selling 3 bedrooms. Is there data on the demand for between 3-bedroom and 2-bedroom for when you're doing for sale?
So, we're looking into it right now, and trying to figure out exactly the demand demographics between the 2, the 3, and what we should ultimately be selling the units at.
Yeah, I asked that because, now you've got 15 bedrooms, right, versus 10. I mean, if you were to do 5 2-bedrooms, you'd have 10 units for sale as opposed to 5, to the point about, people, getting equity, which I think is, starter homes, and, I think that's really important. And I'm just gonna, you left out something, daycare, which is critical,
Oh, yeah.
right? So that's critical, and that allows people to, have a place for their children to be taken care of while they're at work. So I'm gonna with that.
One of the things that we forgot to mention was, since 2019, in order for a church to sell their land or to partner with a developer and have that land become part of the project, we need the Attorney General's approval and the Supreme Court. The not-for-profit hired Nixon Peabody, who represented them, facilitated all of the information, which requires financial statements and, all the due diligence in order for the Supreme Court and AG to look at the plans and the future plans and the board members, and all of that has been approved. And it does take time, and it probably did take us the better part of a year and a half, because the process is back and forth. Once they receive the file, they review it. If they have questions, so we do have that behind us, which is a good
You
milestone.
do have the approval, congratulations. So not everybody gets that approval, and it's a very intensive
It is.
approval. I'm very familiar with it. And so it's good to know that you have that approval, that you have government support as far as what you're designating that site for.
So I have a few questions. First, Reverend Coverdale and Shirley, thank you for everything that you guys do within the community. So you're an amazing asset to all of us, and I thank you for all your efforts. I just have a question in terms, because I constantly see that you are so great to the community, and I'm just, in terms of the housing, okay, that's being built, is the housing going to be reserved for residents of Riverhead within our community, or is this a contract that you foresee through DSS where, I just want to know, is a project like this geared towards people in our community, or are we going to have contracts where we'll have people from Huntington coming out here to live, through contracts with DSS? So tell me a little bit about the management of the rental units and who will, have the best opportunity to obtain them.
So Georgica Property Management will be the property manager of the organization, and the joint venture that we've created has ownership that includes the Georgica affiliate along with the not-for-profit HDFC. So we are true partners in the project. With respect to the lease-up of the units, there will be a lottery that's conducted and done, like any of the lotteries that we've done in the past that include as far east as East Hampton, Southampton, and here in Riverhead. So we can't particularly control who applies to the lottery, but we have managed to really flood the local community with applications and making sure that the marketing is targeted, and therefore, in our last project that we had done in East Hampton, I think over 90% of the applicants came from the town of East Hampton and worked in the town. We had very similar statistics in our two projects in Southampton. So we do kind of recognize that when town creates community housing, their goal is to do it for the community. Although the lottery would be a lottery that quite possibly would take place here in Town Hall, and the applicants are the applicants.
Dave, I went to see one of your projects last year. What was the name of it?
That was Laurel Homes in Roslyn.
Can you talk a little about that? Because I thought the story was amazing.
So that was an existing facility that was built in the 60s in need of rehabilitation. So adjacent to the Roslyn train station existed these 66 units. The town went ahead and allowed us to demolish and rebuild these existing 66, tack on an additional 8, and we've been building it modular since pre-COVID. We started it back in 2018 or 19, and it is just, I'm so thrilled that you came, you got to visit it. I think that day they were actually, the crane was there.
Yeah, it was.
And within 5 days, we had an entire building built. And I think we have some pictures up on our website, but we're serving the community, and the transformation has been drastic.
And no one was displaced,
Nobody was.
right? The whole process, people moved out, everybody wanted to move back in.
Yes.
And I did see most of the facility was built, but everybody took care of their lawns. There was so much pride in the community,
So
which is very encouraging.
I would love for you to come back. And
I will.
The board welcome. The community center that we're envisioning here, we've just completed there something very similar, smaller in nature. This is a little bit bigger, but the community center there is going to have the same purpose. It's going to serve the local residents, the community that's there, and I walked through it last week, and I thought, oh my God, like, this is gonna be spectacular. And I called Allison and said, this is exactly what we're gonna do at Riverhead, just on a bigger scale.
I'll take you up on that order, well, maybe next week we'll go out and see it, but I just wanted, for you guys to expand on, in one area. When you say community engagement, what does that exactly mean? You know, I think people may be watching and say, there's gonna be this community that's gonna be built, and there's gonna be, people live there, and we don't have access, and they're gonna, you know, maybe we don't have access to some of the current programs, so you just wanna expand a little bit about that, the vision in that respect?
So all of the programs are open to everybody.
Good.
Right. It is totally inclusive, and it's going to allow for all members of the community to visit and take part in all of everything that Shirley mentioned, so including the daycare. But all of those 5 pillars are the things that are going to get done and open to everyone.
I'm really happy to hear that, that it is open and inclusive to everybody, because I think there's definitely a need in this community for that. The 800-pound gorilla is, what's the impact on the school district, right? Every time there's some new housing development, everybody wants to know that. And I'm looking at the apartment schedule, and I see the lion's share are 1-bedroom units. So right away, that reeks of, you know, no kids in the school there. Is there anything else we should know about forecasting for the school district?
No, but I mean, that was done by design. I
Yep.
mean, we do try in a lot of our developments, particularly to keep it to 1 bedrooms to minimize the impact, but
Right.
still serve workforce housing.
I think it's a great project.
Well, that's where flooding the community with the applications would help, because chances are, you're getting people from within the community, they're already in the school
That's
district.
Right.
So we're not putting more kids in the school district, we're just relocating them to a chance to better themselves and their families. So I think it's important to keep that in mind. The other elephant in the room is, and are you going to pay taxes? That's a question I get asked constantly when we discuss this. My understanding is you will not, because it will be considered church property through the overlay.
And we will.
You will pay
We will.
taxes.
That
Okay.
may have been in a past iteration of the
Right.
project, but we would seek some relief of taxes, but we would work with hopefully the IDA, and there is current underwriting that supports a real estate tax payment made every year, grown at 3% annually.
So going back
Good.
many years ago, that was one of the biggest contention,
Yeah.
that they're building this community center that might be exclusive just to certain individuals, and it's gonna not add to the tax base. So obviously you overcome that, and especially when you have ownership apartments, you can't be exempt from paying taxes. I mean, how crazy is that? I own a location and I don't pay taxes? Well, you can triple the cost of that apartment if that was the case.
Could I
So-
add something? Just for historical reference, it never was intended nor designed just for the church or surrounding communities, for the community of Riverhead. That was always first. And I thought what was really unique was the First Baptist Church paid for all the land and then told the town we would donate that to build a family community project that the community would benefit from. It's part of the spirit of what our church is about. It wasn't about the ownership of land and control of stuff. It was about making something available for the community. The community had no community center. That's one of the reasons why that got involved in. We didn't have any place except the school system that plays basketball, sports, and we talked to doctors. We did surveys with the doctors in Riverhead. They said they wanted something for senior citizens to be able to walk in safety within a building, so that if the snow rains, they're protected. So the whole design of trying to get senior citizens incorporated really came from the medical field, which I interviewed different doctors who said they would contribute and make sure, because they're always telling their seniors, go out and walk, but the only place they could basically walk was outside. And we didn't have like a Smith Haven Mall where people go there and walk around track. So we designed that with the purpose too of incorporating those activities that strengthen seniors and give seniors safety within the building. The other thing is that I think you should know is that First Baptist has always, even down to the Butterfly Project, which has grown, have provided community space at no cost. when we keep and do all the feeding of all these people, the electric and all the stuff that's run on our, that we pay for, we don't ask them to pay for, we're doing a service to the community. When we look at the beginning of the Butterfly Project, they had no home, everybody wants to charge money for rent. They have a free facility where we pay for everything within that facility, support the young people, which is now over 600 in Suffolk County, so that we support that. The idea of the church being different, and it's not to put down the other churches, most churches are really scuffling, so do we at times. But the idea of the church was that we brought in a missional project. We changed the outlook of our members, who then their hearts changed, their spirit changed, and they raised money to pay for all this additional land out of their pockets to make it available for our community to use. And I think we ought to keep that in mind, because when I look around Riverhead for 41 years, I hadn't seen many of that kind of thing happen. But that is what we're about, and that's what we want to see happen here. And we want to do it for the benefit of our community. I asked many questions, can I lock out people from other communities for the housing? And they found out it's against the law, and I'm not willing at my age to go to jail now, folks. So I will do it according to the law, but yes, the idea is to create a space for people from the Riverhead community at large.
And I think, it's such an interesting thing that we talk about this law. So, the governor's office and the governor's administration is asking us to build housing in our communities. This is great, but I think if the community would be able to build housing for themselves.
Larry needs you to elaborate.
You need to,
Their community, they'd be a lot less fearful and a lot more understanding, because they would know that it would be for, not only would it not impact the school district, because those children that are already here would be in a new place, but to continue the community. And that's really what, we agree probably on a million things relating to community, because it's so important. It's what we are. And if you're, you have to do a lottery and you've got people from all over, and now you've displaced people from your own community even further, it's counterproductive. So I hope the governor's office will rethink that, because I think you get a lot more traction in getting people to do the housing that they're hoping and saying that we need, if you were permitted to do it that way. So anyway.
May I say something?
Yeah.
I sit on the board of Long Island Housing Partnership, and this is an issue that comes before that board ad nauseum.
Yeah.
And the reason that you have to have the lotteries and that you cannot stipulate is towns have been sued
Oh, yeah, it's federal.
because it's federal.
Yes.
The governor can't change it any more than I can, because it's federal and there are certain things that are against fair housing law.
Right.
And so, what I would say, that in Riverhead's interest, and to comfort you somewhat, the demographics of Riverhead mitigate against outside people being given the lion's share of some lottery. What has hurt towns in the past is that the demographics of the town, when they say they want preference for residents, means that it would create harm to people in underserved communities. Riverhead proper, of all the Riverhead town hamlets, is the principal hamlet with all the diversity, with all the demographic diversity. So I can assure you that that's where the demand is. And if you put out a lottery and you let the people in Riverhead know who are living in people's basements, believe me, they will apply.
Yeah, I know. No,
And it will benefit
and I think-
Riverhead.
And also geographically too, we're far on the east end, so that mitigates towards that also. I agree, the spirit of the idea of making further opportunity for your community is a little bit thwarted by that federal fair. And it's not, I know it's fair housing, but it seems like unfair sometimes.
I just want to add something. I want to add something to speak to inclusivity. If I had the time, and we don't, to lay out everything that we have done over the last 40 years, has always been inclusive. Not one program has not been geared towards one segment of the society. You've come to our Martin Luther King breakfast, inclusivity. All of our senior programs, our youth programs, our partnerships, our collaborations, our Christmas concert, always inclusive. It are inclusive of the broader community. And even when, I just want to further say this, that during the pandemic, even when there were those who came to us with an agenda to not be inclusive, and to reflect that in the newspaper when it came to the COVID vaccinations, we told them, no, we will not do that. We live in this community together. That the vaccinations that we give out will be open to everyone. And on one day, we vaccinated over 300 people. We turned our entire sanctuary into a medical facility. It is not our spirit. I can appreciate the laws, and I believe in the laws. We'll follow the law. But behind the law is a spirit of inclusivity in us as a people, and our church. So I just wanted to say that, even if the law didn't demand it, we would be inclusive, because that is our history. That's what we do.
And it's really nice to think about it, because when Riverhead, you mentioned the school district, when they had people come and move in and needed shots, we created the whole thing and we gave all the shots for people to go to the Riverhead school system free.
It was called Immune Kids.
Immune Kids, that was our project, we said. So we gave all the kids, we talked to schools, superintendent, they said they need shots to get in here. Okay, I need shots, how many, what kind of shots? We set it up, and all the parents, whether they spoke English or not, wherever they came from, they came to our church, and they received their shots free. We worked that out with a couple of institutions. We have, during the pandemic, we were major sponsors of making sure people got
And we had a very high rate. I remember those days when we were giving.
Good Friday, our church was turning, like she said, we had people who came there. Well, there's a lot of nurses and doctors who meet me on the street, said, I'll never forget coming to church and walking around the whole church are these lines all down the middle out
Yeah, remember
for
that?
people to get, and he said, and that was Good Friday. I said, that made even a better Good Friday.
So I have a question, Dave, because I keep landing back on the 3-bedroom versus 2.
Just tell me what you want.
And what the cost, what the cost difference would be, between a 3-bedroom ownership versus 2, and whether or not it's, more viable for first-time home buyers
To be at the twos?
have the ability to buy, instead of 5 3-bedroom, but maybe something like 10 2-bedrooms. Something in that, in that respect, so that again, I just would like to see people, that would be more of a starter home, right? And people to get that equity and, use the services of daycare, et cetera, to go to work, and then, go where they want to go, right? So,
So we're not married to it.
Okay.
We think the next step is for the zoning, right, to be modified if it's acceptable to the board. I think the zoning allows for, a minimum of 5 units for sale. We can decide, once we get over that and we get into site plan approval, that it could possibly be 2 or 3 bedrooms or a combination thereof. So totally open to that, because I don't think the zoning itself goes into the unit mix of the for sale. Just a minimum of 5, I believe.
Does the AMI, does that work with home ownership, right? So there's assistance for that, et cetera, et cetera?
There is.
Oh, that's, okay, good.
It's very similar.
Partnership would be a great,
Exactly.
great-
The housing partnership does
And
it
they-
all the time.
Yeah.
One of the issues in the past that was brought up was, it was presented to us that it was going to be completed in phases, where the rentals would be done first, and then sometime down the road, the community center would be done, and it was concerned that maybe the community center may never be done. Is this going to be done phased, or is this going to be done as a one whole project?
One project.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah.
Good.
Well, I think, Dave, that you guys should consider about the home ownership. It's been proven that when you have home ownership, people take care of their homes a bit more because they have financial interest. And that's something that we are in high need, and I have constantly reached out to people. We need assisted living. locations here. We have a high population of seniors, and they have no place to go except to Florida or move in their basements with their children.
Right.
So there is a high need, and that might be something that you guys might want to consider. And the one thing that I want to add, because I'm very familiar with this, is you have to go through the Attorney General to do your co-ops. That is a very exhaustive amount of work for 5 apartments, so,
Make
and
them
you
work.
know that process. And so you might want to say, let's up it. You have the support of the community, because it is in high need. It's your project, but it might be something that you guys, and then one last thing that's very important, dear to my heart, and I've been, not really shared it with that, but I've been working a lot with people throughout my whole life with disabilities, and I just started a task force here. It's now called the Inclusion Task Force. Tim Hubbard is the liaison I assigned to. They are very, very, very active, very active. The chairwoman is Lisa Fortel.
Yes.
And she runs East End Disabilities.
Yes.
And if there's anybody who you know, would you please reach out to her? It was great to see inclusive, Reverend Higgins, the inclusivity, 20 apartments going in there, everybody glossed through that. That should be noted.
My apologies.
Because,
Yeah.
I'm bringing it out because it's important. So if you guys can reach out to Ms. Patel, she has a wealth of information. I actually was, last time I was in Albany, I was advocating for Riverhead Township, and she was up there at the same time advocating for East End disabilities and the disabled here. And the committee is very, very inclusive, and they're very active. I was here not too long ago, it was for 2.5 hours, and they were talking about getting disabled onto the beach. I didn't even know there's such a thing as disabled wheelchairs for the beach, and they cost thousands of dollars, and they're negotiating, how do we get it? So it might be something that you can now, merge together, talk about it, and she has a wealth amount. I don't know, have you met her, Reverend? Lisa Fortel?
Yes, years
She's
ago.
a wonderful person, so I would recommend, and with Tim, that you reach out to her. But this is also another inclusive component.
Concern is also accessible living units. Keeping a mind open for that, because I know some of one of the other builders in town it's very dear to his heart, and he's building products or building units where they're accessible to people with wheelchairs and with handicaps and such. So that's very important to consider.
We will too.
Excellent.
Yeah, I would love for you to follow up
Good.
on that. Great, thank you. Anybody else?
Sounds like you got a lot of support.
Thank you.
And the butterfly effect is great, and it was great that you housed them. They do amazing work, and can't wait for the barbecue again. It's such great
I
stuff.
went the year before, it was great.
Yeah.
And trying all the food.
Right.
Remember you had the food tasting, and
That's
it was
right.
I think in a couple of years, I'm gonna make some of it. And I'm serious, I'm
We'd like to
taking
have
you up
you
next
Look
year.
forward to it.
We like to have your full support, and we think that'll be a magnificent edifice to add to our community. And look, you see how we kept up our church for years. It's a magnificent. If you haven't been downstairs to see the remodeling of the butterfly area as well as our own fellowship halls, you need to go take a look at it. It's absolutely gorgeous. Pictures showed up on Facebook, and a friend that knows me called me up and said, "Where did you hold your birthday party at? That was a fabulous hall." I said, "That was the fellowship hall of the church." Then I said, "I guess you haven't been here lately." But we do, and certainly, Brother Hubbard, we talked about that years ago with your
Yes.
own children,
Exactly.
needing a place to start.
Yes.
And both very interesting. I served two terms on the board, hospital board, so did Pastor Liggett. So we are really familiar, been working with the hospital over the years on everything that we've been trying to actually do. And they were very in favor of us trying to get the center, because they want people to walk through now for the cardiac unit. And that's something that's, a big thing right now.
Hopefully they'll kick in a few million for that, huh?
That would be nice.
Well, we're not holding back any contributions, because right now, we're standing in front of all the big dogs.
a commercial right now. So I know about your plight for many years. I actually was following it for many years, and I was like, what's going on there? And then you get some news, and it was like, is that really happening? And it was like, that doesn't sound right. And it was like constantly. So finally, it's gonna make the news, but on a positive point.
Okay.
Okay, so thank you, be safe.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your
Thank you.
presentation.
I'll take some of that off for Dave,
Thank you.
Yes.
okay?
See you guys.
Tim, take care for that new grandbaby.
Oh, thank you. Yes, yes, soon,
Yeah,
very soon.
Paige is my sweetheart.
There you go.
Oh, do you want us to move some of these chairs out of the way?
No, leave them right where they are. That's fine. Thank you.
Allison, do you now have a card with you? You didn't respond to me.
I'm gonna grab his phone on our way out.
You have to.
I will.
Because they can't.
I'm gonna go do it right now.
I just got a call.
Oh, yeah? Okay, perfect.
So, okay.
Thank you.
I want,
Select board, do you want?
oh, I thought it was on the YMCA, because I was gonna say, what do they have to do?
No.
I was like, what? The guy,
That's on the list.
yeah.
Good to see you. Do you want your a little bit bigger?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that pretty much emptied out the room.
TDRs.
We only have,
It's safe to say we're not gonna take that.
yeah, we are, because it's the stats, and then we close.
Yep, then we got executive.
No, we're going in my office.
No, but I'm saying, to go to the thing at the library, honoring to
I'm not going to that.
I don't think,
What are you, tired, Tim?
Do you know the circumstance of that?
Huh?
I know.
They never, yeah, everybody was out and they made all these claims in the newspaper, so the community in Pulaski is up in arms about it. So that's why I just did a certificate of appreciation.
Do we want to jump into?
Yes, we are gonna jump into it, and, I wanna thank everybody, in that regard, and thank you, Dawn. And next, I'm gonna ask, Police Chief Hegemiller to please come forward to review the May statistics for us, please, Chief. Although, Chief, before you start, can I ask you a question?
Good afternoon, yes.
Good afternoon. Can you discuss the $10,000 grant that you got?
I
I
can
think
do that.
it's important that the community knows that this is available,
Yes,
and it's
no-
something that you guys got.
Another piece of good news for today. So the County Youth Bureau gave us $10,000 from the state, filters through them to us, and it's for a sports program or sports clinic, soccer clinic, for ELL students in the Pulaski Street School. So we're handling K through 2 students. They have a program going already, so we're just going to go into that program and
Right.
run about 3 clinics starting in July.
This can be done through PAL.
It'll be done through, JAB. So it's going to be kicking it with the cops. So
That's an
We'll hit a
interesting
few,
soccer, kicking it with the
yeah.
cops.
they'll be interacting with our police officers, establishing relationships. It's,
You actually have a couple pretty good soccer players in
yes,
your
we do.
boys, so.
Yes. Byron being
Let's
one
hope
of
they
them.
don't get hurt.
Byron, John Morris,
Yep.
they played high-level soccer.
Yeah, no. And Byron was involved before helping out.
Yeah, right.
Soccer, so.
Good.
Yeah, $10,000, and it looks like it'll be recurring again next year, so it's
That's fantastic.
good news.
That's nice, it's a great community project, and so do we have the stats?
Yeah, another piece of good news is one of our arrests from a warrant we did at the apartment across the way. We all know it's the Red Brick. He's getting 15 years, faces up to 15 years in prison for the work we did, so,
Excellent,
yeah.
excellent.
It's always good when you convict somebody and take them off the street.
Yep, and they go away to jail, that's really good. Okay, I sent out the May report, and that's basically all good news, for sure. Calls received were down, which we haven't seen probably since COVID started, so that's a good thing. Domestic incidents were down.
Okay?
Motor vehicle accidents were about the same, up 1, so 157 to 158. Councilman Kern will be happy to know that deer strikes were the same, no increase, no decrease.
Give it a couple of months.
Summonses issued, makes the chief happy, they were way up again. Arraignments were up, arrests were up, criminal incidents were down, so that's another good thing, down by 21, which is a pretty good percent. Non-criminal incidents were up, revenues were up, and overall, it's a good report for May. No overdoses, Councilman Hubbard.
Yep.
We issued 4 doses of Narcan to 2 victims or patients, whatever you want to call them.
Chief, how did the Click It or Ticket go, that campaign that you did?
Very well.
Yeah, I'm stunned that people still don't wear
Yeah, no,
seatbelts in their
something-
vehicle, but
Something so easy to do that, now when I get in, if I don't put it in, I feel like there's something wrong,
Right.
so
great.
making that a habit.
Excellent.
Anything else? I think we're good. Good?
And you were at the cap ceremony on Monday?
We
We
did the
had
cap.
record-breaking kids.
We
It
did
was
the cap march.
great day.
We were supposed to parade around the streets of downtown Riverhead, but that was kind of confined because of the air quality.
right,
So we kept them all on the campus and we just paraded around the school.
and it was a great day.
It was a great day.
Yeah, I wasn't
Weather
gonna
was
go,
good.
but what I had canceled, so then
Yeah.
I'm glad it did. It was great to see all the students there, and thank you, Felicia, for everything that you do for our school.
That's for
She is
sure.
so dedicated, and it's a great program, and I know you were there, right? You took
Yeah,
a
but
class?
Chief, it seemed like walking around the school twice was about the same as the
The march.
Right, going around the whole
Right, yeah.
thing.
I'm like, wait a minute.
No. I was like, how many times are we gonna go around the school?
Yeah.
On another note, the compliance checks, we just did that. Good news is most people are compliant with
Yes.
selling alcohol to minors, but we did have 2 arrests out of that. And Felicia Cap also helps us with that. They pay for half of our compliance checks, so.
Chief, the non-incident thing, is any of that like panhandles or anything like that downtown?
Compliance?
Yeah.
No, it's all places that sell alcohol.
Oh, no, I'm not talking about compliance. No, I'm sorry, you had mentioned something, I'll bring it up at another time. You'd said non-incident,
Oh, non-criminal incidents.
non-criminal
Right.
incidents, yeah. What are some of those?
Like aided cases.
Oh, okay.
Things
Car
like people
accident.
like,
I got it.
And these are all
lock
separate,
yourself,
but
you lock your keys in the car,
Right.
all things like that.
Okay.
So.
lost your wallet.
All right,
I've
thanks.
fallen and I can't get up.
Right.
Service misses.
Lift
That's
assist, we call that,
Lift
right,
assist.
so. But good report from Matt.
Thanks, Chief.
Well,
Thank you.
the summer just started, so
Summer just started.
let's see where we're gonna go for that.
That's it. Fingers
Are
crossed.
we doing like, have all our quality of life resolutions been codified for Riverhead? Can we start on?
They have been, we are still waiting on an answer from whether they've been adopted by the state or whatever the
That's
state
what I'm
has to
referring
do
to.
too. That I don't know, but I can
Okay.
check on it.
Excellent.
Is that it?
That's it.
Questions? All
We
right.
did this in Southampton with their murder arrest, so happened on the Southampton side.
Oh,
But
that's,
the suspect came to our side and one of our officers grabbed him, which was a good arrest, so.
definitely.
One of our rookie officers.
One of our rookie officers,
Yes, which makes it all the better. Somebody who had military experience, alert, was doing their job,
Did a
heard
great-
the radio.
did a
every-
great job,
Everything came together. That's what good police work is all about.
for sure.
Yep. All right, thank you, Chief.
All set, okay.
Thank you.
All right, Devin, your turn. Please come up. Can you please read the resolutions for us for today? Good afternoon.
Afternoon. Everybody ready?
Get it.
Resolution number 1, budget transfer for new town hall appraisals. Number 2, rescinds resolution 2023-208 and authorizes purchase of highway equipment.
We can't hear you, Dan. I mean, I don't know if is this something, you gotta just bring the mic up a little bit.
Okay,
He's the Mike Police.
I know that.
Well, no, I do it for the public, not for me.
Okay, resolution number 3, appoints a call-in recreation aide to the Recreation Department. Number 4, awards bid for annual procurement contract. Number 5, awards bid for removal and disposal of sludge cake and grit screen waste. Number 6, ratify stipulation with the Riverhead Town Superior Officers Association, SOA, regarding observation of Juneteenth as a holiday 2023. Number 7, ratify stipulation with the Riverhead Town Police Benevolent Association, PBA, regarding observation of Juneteenth as a holiday 2023. And number 8, ratify stipulation with the CSEA, Local 1000, AFS-CME, AFL-CIO, regarding observation of Juneteenth as a holiday 2023. Number 9, Water District Capital Project number 82318, 360 West Lane, budget adoption. Number 10, budget transfer for emergency traffic signal repairs. Number 11, approves Macaron Plumbing, Inc. as a drain layer for Riverhead Sewer District. Number 12, authorizes the Community Development Department to apply for New York State Environmental Facilities Corporation Green Innovation Grant for Meeting House Creek Restoration Project. Number 13, approves agreement between Town of Riverhead and Winship Media LLC, utilize parking police personnel and police cars, 2023, Jazz in the Vines. Number 14, amends Town Board Resolution number 2023-413. Number 15, extends bid for fertilizer and lawn chemicals. Number 16, appoints a call-in assistant recreation leader to the Recreation Department. Number 17 through 20 are all the same, appoints a call-in park attendant. Oh, I'm sorry, they're not all the same. 2 are the same. 17 and 18, appoints a call-in park attendant to the Recreation Department. Number 19 and 20, appoints a call-in recreation aide to the Recreation Department. Number 21, accepts the resignation of a part-time police officer. Number 22, awards bid for Holly Tree Lane water main extension. Number 23, changes the status of part-time traffic control specialists and part-time traffic control officers. Number 24, changes the status of part-time police officers. Number 25, approves special event Chapter 255 application for the Dark Side Productions Dark Side Haunted House. Number 26, rescinds Resolution 2023-398. Number 27, terminates the employment of a driver messenger. Number 28, authorizes the supervisor to execute a memorandum of understanding with Department of Homeland Security for E-Verify. Number 29, order calling for public hearing for the construction of a new ground storage tank at East Wind Drive, Wading River, New York, for the Riverhead Water District. Number 30, order calling for public hearing regarding a capital improvement for the extension of facilities of the Riverhead Water District for the Suffolk Theater addition for a lateral water main extension at the property known as Suffolk County Tax Map Number 600-129-1-8.4 and 118 East Main Street, Riverhead, New York. Number 31, awards bid for annual construction contract. Number 32, ratifies the appointment of an automotive equipment operator. Number 33, appoints a senior citizens program director. Number 34, 203-213 East Main Street, Riverhead Sewer District Capital Project.
So I have one question relating to the same topic. I had worked with our town attorney and we submitted 2 resolutions. We have 2 appointments that are necessary for the planning board. We have one that has expired a year and a half ago and one that was 6 months ago. So I'm wondering what happened to those 2 resolutions that were submitted. How come they're not on the agenda?
Well, they're not up because there's some work that has to be done. And I know the town, nobody checked with my office. I spoke to the town attorney yesterday, and I explained to him the circumstances that they can't go up this week. So we're working on that.
What
and
are
it
the
should be coming up.
circumstances? I'm curious. I submitted it, so I'd like to, why
Well,
are
the
my resolutions being
circumstances is-
removed by you?
Ed Dezensky, who is the deputy chair of the planning department, on numerous occasions has been asked by has been informed that he needs to put in a letter of request or come and see the supervisor asking to be reappointed. That hasn't been done. So, and the second request is, the other request was that the board agreed to bring a certain individual to replace another individual, and I chose to do everything together. The planning chair received an email yesterday after I saw the resolutions and asked her to ensure that she takes care of this in a timely manner, that we have to address it. So, you know, I think if you don't see a resolution because you get them the day before, maybe we should discuss this privately. Because this sometimes affects departments or, and that way, it's personnel. So when you deal with personnel, sometimes we gotta get all those kinks out.
We submitted the resolutions, they were put in on time, and so nobody called me and said, I'm removing your resolutions from the agenda.
No, you did not put the resolution.
Yes, I
The town attorney did, and I spoke to the
At my
person.
direction.
Okay.
And that's what I am permitted to do that.
I'm not saying you're not permitted,
So I would like
Councilman.
them to be put back on the agenda.
They're not gonna be put back until I get confirmation. This is a supervisory, decision on
No,
the
it is not.
operations.
No, it
Okay.
is not. Any town board member, we're 5 elected
The
officials, any
attorney,
one of us
the
can
town
place.
attorney, that's not, don't even go there and stop gaslighting.
I guess
The
I-
town attorney was advised why yesterday he agreed and.
Hang on,
Go ahead.
I didn't agree.
I explained to you in front of the
You-
deputy,
You did,
And
you
you said
explained,
okay.
you explained your reasoning for it.
and you said, okay,
Yes, that I understood what you were saying.
so that's not agreed. Why is this
If
going
it's-
to happen?
If it's a resolution that any of the 5 town board members wants to have in the packet, there is no authority for any other member of the town board to take it out of the packet. So it should be, if it's been submitted, if there's reasons that it shouldn't be voted upon, those should be discussed among the board. In my estimation, or in my
Okay.
review, there is no reason that the resolutions could not go forward.
Okay, so I explained to you why, and you said it was okay, and if somebody went to you to put it in, I thought maybe you should have contacted the person? Well, why is this not, as we see, there was a process, there's an email out, yesterday and this morning to the chair to address these two, inform the person that they're not gonna be reappointed, and to contact and give us a letter, as everyone else has in every position. They've either made a phone call, had a conversation, or they sent in a letter, and I have not received anything to that effect. And the chair assured me that she was gonna take care of it today, and if it does get taken care of, we're gonna do it together, and we'll put the resolution
Why-
in the next meeting.
I believe the vice chair may have contacted other town board members, but he also did mention something to me when I saw him. He asked if he was gonna have a reappointment resolution. And so I did,
Okay.
that was about 2 weeks
And
ago.
that's
I told
fine,
him
he's
I would
gotta
look into it.
communicate it to the office. He may have spoken to other board members, but he hasn't spoken to myself or my deputy, so. And that's all we're waiting, is to have something that he has placed an interest, and then we're gonna put it in.
Who we talking about, Ed?
Ed, yeah.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
great.
he hasn't contacted us, so that's all we're asking.
No, he's
Contact-
great. He brings a wealth of knowledge to the planning board.
He's been, his term expired back in January, so it's June. We need to do this now, and we need to.
Okay. So they're gonna contact her, let the chair of the planning department take care of her administrative business, and they're gonna, you know.
But I don't
No,
understand why he
it's-
needs to
it's-
contact
it's-
anybody.
It's
We have
not,
a-
she doesn't have any special authority on the appointment of
Well, she's
of
the chair, she
members.
can relate and ask if he's gonna run, relate that to and say, can you see the supervisor, or can you please just submit a paper, a piece of paper saying that you wish to be appointed?
The resolutions be written. If
The
you
only thing I
disagree
would
with the
caution on
resolution,
that is
disagree with
that
the appointment, you have
that's
an
not
opportunity
really,
to
that's
vote
not
no
really a
against it,
requirement
but-
that we've ever had before.
Okay,
So if we do that, it creates a precedent where we have to do that every time.
well, I think any member of any committee should, if their term is up, should make a request, should definitely make a request to say that they are interested, and everybody has in the past. I don't know why it's different by one individual, why it would be different, and we have letters, we're constantly getting them, okay, the person wants it, now we're sure, hopefully they don't change their mind. I don't see why that becomes, a problem. Anybody wants to get reappointed, you make a note or a phone call to the supervisor's office, so why is there a problem now?
I mean, the fact that he served as a holdover for 6 months, I think, sort of demonstrates his
Well,
intent.
he's been asked for 6 months to make the request, and that hasn't happened, and we don't know why. So it's, just want to hear it from the person, just as everybody else, everybody in the ZBA, those people who were appointed, and the resolution went through a while ago. We haven't heard from the individual. In fact, in today's email, I included him in the email, to just please reach out to the office, and then I'm available
But
today.
I don't think, that's not grounds for taking my resolutions out and not allowing me to submit something, because you want to talk to them personally and ask them if they would like to participate.
You know, you're,
You can allow the resolutions
here
to
we
go
go.
ahead, we vote on the resolutions, and then if somebody ever declined a position for anything in any of the resolutions we do, they would have a right to rescind or decline. But
I like to vote on a
can't-
resolution that the person related to the supervisor, that they're interested in it. And we're not going outside the norm. This has happened for every single committee and every single board. And now it becomes, it's my resolution and you took it out. I would explain to that. I explained it to you why it wasn't. Once I explained to you why, that I was waiting and I was gonna reach out to and you said okay, and I said thank you, and I hung up, I assumed that you thought that it was appropriate. Now you're coming up here and say, well, I didn't approve. This is a
Well,
discussion that we should have
This is
together.
really not, it's going to be him, I put it in, it's been, one
Okay,
has
so
been
we
a
should
year
have
and a
to-
half,
do
and
you
the other
have-
one has been 6 months. It's time. And come January 1st, after an election, you may have a third vacancy. We need to fill these
There was some
positions.
concerns because one person did not want to go and started cursing. All right, we have to bring this into public, because this is the way some people like to administer. There was aggression, and we're trying to address it so it could be cohesive and we can move together. And this is not something, and you know that what had happened, so.
No, I don't know what happened. I know what happened is I put together resolutions, and you're pulling me,
You know that there
you're
was-
preventing appointments to the
Okay.
planning board, which is
All right.
an obstruction, is the way I see it. You can't prevent, if you don't agree with them, you vote against them. That's okay, but you can't obstruct and prevent them from being put into the
You know, you're
resolution.
creating words as me
I'm not.
obstructing. There were times when people put in resolutions, and I have knowledge, and I say, you know, might not be the right time, this is going on, it may conflict. And I've spoken to everybody, maybe why we might have put it off for another week for some reason. So it's not uncommon to that happen, and you're using these words. You know, be a little cohesive, talk to us. I have a deputy who's very competent. Go see her, we
I'm
can
an
all
elected
discuss it.
official, I have a right to put in resolutions,
Yeah,
and
and
you don't have
nobody's
a right to
saying-
remove them.
Nobody's saying,
Then
okay.
just put them back
You
in and
use your
use them
keywords,
for
make allegations,
I'm not making-
without being cohesive. You've never really been in my office in the last year and a half. You're out on your own.
I mean, I have to say that once the resolutions go in, if there's any kind of issues that the board needs to talk to each other about, that sort of thing should happen.
Yes,
you
it
know,
should.
in a one-on-one sort of go around.
It
This
should.
the sort of way the
Yeah,
the
to iron
legislative
things
process
out,
should work.
cohesive, I totally agree.
This being an appointment, this is pretty standard and straightforward. We typically do these at the beginning of each year. There's currently 2 holdovers. I think we need to lock that up and get.
How did that
get-
happen, Eric? I'm just curious. How did that happen, that they're working in a position for 6 months?
It can, it's
Year and
very
a half,
standard.
one.
A year and a half?
Well, but people agreed to just keep it as a holdover, the other one. Now you're adding the time. So
You
the
can-
the person is refusing, and it really, this should not be, you know, on TV. We have to work this through. And the person is refusing. We're trying to do it as amicably as possible. And, so we need one person to indicate, so I can vote and I can feel comfortable, to say that the person wants it, maybe have a conversation, the interests of the town, open lines of communication, and the other individual is being worked on. And it wasn't too long ago that we noticed for that person, okay? I don't know, maybe it was 3 months ago that we noticed for the person. I don't know if anybody here interviewed anybody. I know I did, a few people. So, you know, there is a process, and, again, I called you, we spoke about it, I explained why, we're trying to get this done, we got these last 2 pieces, and if it has to go up after today, when we hear from them, if that's the case, why is this becoming?
Well, I mean, I don't think that the board should really be hamstrung by, you know, an outstanding phone call or something like that. I think that if these are appointments that the board wants to make, you should move on them.
And even if the board doesn't agree as a whole, that's what we vote on. So if there's a disagreement, that's okay. We put it forth, and if it fails, it fails. If it
Just
succeeds,
from
it
a
does.
practical standpoint, I don't like having things like this hanging out, sort of unsettled, because that can create issues down the road.
So if you had
So,
opinion, why didn't you express that yesterday? And you said, okay.
Well,
and I said, okay.
Supervisor, I did indicate that I thought that you needed to speak with some other individuals
That
about
didn't
this,
happen.
about this
But,
decision.
okay, this is,
Being fellow board members, planning board members,
so
whomever.
does it really matter if we wait for the chair to do what I asked her to do?
I mean, it doesn't, because what you do is not contingent on what she does. You are the appointing authority. So you do what you want, basically.
We try to do things cohesively and speak to each other, and if there are problems, we try to work through them and make it more streamlined and to work in unison, not to, to indicate that I'm trying to move away from anybody putting up resolution. We do this all the time, where we say, maybe we want to consider this, we give advice and we talk about it.
I mean, in my opinion, I think this is pretty straightforward town board action. That's all
Okay.
I would say.
All right.
So does anybody need a copy of these resolutions?
I haven't seen them, but I love Ed, I think he's a great guy and brings a
Oh,
lot of...
it's not a matter of that, and I see you're prepared for this argument, you're trying to prepare. You should have just come and see my office.
You could have called me as well, Supervisor, and told me you were moving my resolution. from the
I did
agenda.
not, this is a process.
It's
You
a process. I
refuse
submitted
to-
the resolution, and you voted
Okay,
for or against.
all right. What an aggressor. See what
Not
happens
aggressor,
behind the
you know.
scene. But we're gonna move forward and do this as best as we can. So, we can always add this to the agenda. I like to, have the ability to, hear from the two individuals, which I've taken measures to do it, and we can always add this for Tuesday. So there really isn't any hurry. Did anybody oppose that? Just waiting for what I request?
What agenda are we talking about?
We can always add this for Tuesday to get voted on.
I
It doesn't
think
matter
in-
whether you read it
We're
today.
not,
Yeah, I'd like to
we're not
vote on
voting
it.
today, we're gonna,
Right, you're gonna vote
Oh,
on
yeah.
Tuesday.
yeah, that's fine.
So all I'm asking is let me hear from these individuals so I feel confident.
Put it on the agenda for
Vote.
Tuesday. for
Yeah,
vote.
we'll put it
That's
on.
right. We
Okay,
requested,
great.
yep.
That's right.
Excellent, we're done.
I agree, put it on for
Okay.
Tuesday.
Thank you.
Okay. So that's it. We're done with the resolutions and,
Just, before you close out, I
Okay.
just wanted to, and you were probably gonna do this, but I just wanna wish everybody a happy Father's Day this weekend, as we have Father's Day coming up on Sunday. To all the fathers out there, enjoy the day. Weather looks nice, and a lot of things going on around town, they can go out and enjoy it.
yes. Well, it's very good. So, this is gonna conclude, our session for today, and, I'm gonna ask for a first and a second to go into executive session to discuss the following, and it is legal matters surrounding, litigation between the town of Riverhead and the city of New York, and that's gonna be with Howard. Contractual matters surrounding agreement between the town of Riverhead and European American and our recurrent Prudenti, both Dillahan and Clifford. That's gonna be pretty packed session. And then we have matters surrounding agreement between the town of Riverhead and PKF, O'Connor Davies, and that's gonna be Walther. And we also have Richard Suckerman Esquire, matters surrounding an agreement between the town of Riverhead and the PBA. And then we're gonna have personnel, the matter surrounding grievance on appeal, and that's gonna be with Smith. And can I have please, can I have a first and a second to go into executive session?
That's all.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? So move. Everyone, please be safe. Have a good weekend.
Larry.